Hi everyone, my name is Caroline. I'm one of the co-founders of Dataveyes, which is a company specialized in data visualization and human data interactions. So I'm going to speak in French, so please put your headphones. Ok. Dans ma société
في شركة Dataveyes نحسن العلاقة I'm sorry, so we try to improve the relationship with the data, work and live with the data on a daily basis. Having task forces like mine that are specialized in the relationship between human beings and data is the good proof that this relationship is necessary. What I will do is to tell you about the relationship between human beings and data and link it to the topics of today. Why do we speak about data today? Because they have been intensively used recently. They are everywhere in a number of information platforms. It's a good way to encapsulate the information around us and in its big, in a big scale. This presents good opportunities. And I'm one of the people who perceive it as is or as such. Institutions and companies can improve their processes, their productivity, the way they cater to the needs of their customers, to improve their business models, opportunities to come up with new ways to innovate. We can take, for instance, the case of Procter & Gamble, that has given 50,000 staff members to, with a device to visualize the data and to take good decisions. This is a good opportunity for public entities. Therefore, we are allowing the biggest access of for the biggest number of citizens to the data, and this changes the relationship between governors, the politicians, officials, and the public. In New York, for example, they have allowed citizens access to data and set conditions to set up and devise programs to link the officials, companies, and citizens in the use of this data. It's also a good opportunity for cities to become smart cities, better able to overcome development challenges and use the limited natural resources by optimizing the use of the network thanks to the optimization of the data processing and a decentralized data management. We speak about Barcelona, for example, which is one of the smartest cities as it has been elected recently because they are very good at managing their traffic and their street lights as well through data management. Data allow all of us back home to use the Internet of Things, which facilitates our daily lives. We're talking here about smart counters, smart temperature sensors to allow us to save energy and power, etc. More generally, data allows us to understand things we haven't understood so far. There are sounds that we may not hear with our bare ears. So data helps us therein. So these are the different opportunities allowed to us by the data, understanding things that we wouldn't have understood differently. We have a promising plan. What is said today in the media is not this beautiful landscape. Rather, it is criticized. Data is criticized and data management is criticized. I'm going to take a few examples of the recent American elections. Since the election of Donald Trump has discredited opinion polls and all the predictive methodologies thanks to the data that we rely on thanks to the data. In this case, data didn't help us understand the world. It took us away or drew a wrong idea. You all know your news feed. It is organized by an algorithm that has been discredited and accused of promoting false ideas and false information. There's also the filter bubbles. The personal data provided by internet users are used to personalize the information that is presented to these internet users. So they always provide you with customized and more personalized information. However, this isolates the internet users from external opinions, from other ideas. So here also, the use of data doesn't allow us to better understand the world, but it rather limits our world. Another example of the American elections is that it shows our difficulty to understand how the world functions. I'm not going to enter the sociological or philosophical mechanisms that allow me to say this, but I'm just speaking from a data perspective. Today, we have the capacity to collect data better than before, in a more individualized way than before. In this context, it's no longer sensible and logical to speak about social classes and strata. Same for the issue of, or the idea of the nation. There are infinite patterns where we can find common grounds that allow us to find people that share the same values or same ideas. Facebook has been criticized for having changed its algorithm because it uses the personal information provided by internet users. Knowing that leaving these information or that using this algorithm is not being done as transparently and as ethically as it should be. It should be done in a way that protects the private life, a person's own privacy. Another issue that has to do with the ethics, the connected cars or smart cars. This uses a lot of data. The system uses a lot of data, and it is highly complicated. It is very difficult for us to understand how an independent or autonomous car works. This car is asked to manage a situation. Let's say we are in a very narrow street, and then a school bus comes in front of you. Of course, the accident is inevitable. What will your independent car do in this case? Will it give you priority or will it give the school bus priority? You have to be able to take a decision you have to be able to take a decision according to your own ethics, your own beliefs, to your own mood mainly. The smart car in this case should be conditioned to think like you do. This is scary, of course, because we realize that we are building a world where that we do not understand anymore. Algorithms that control financial markets, prices of raw material. These are things that we may not totally understand. We do not want to live in a world that is surrounded by robots and algorithms. This is why you have to change our approach, and this is what we work on in Dataveyes, at least on 3 levels. First, the issue of the meaning. Data is something that has to be meaningful. And it's important to focus on the meaning. Usually, the language used is mathematics or coding, which we do not truly understand. Therefore, using a new data language is more feasible for the regular human being so that they can claim ownership to the use of the data. Visualizing the data is this, to translate visually in an interactive manner complicated elements of the data so that this data becomes easier to understand. It allows human beings to understand the formation or the elements and components of the data. For example, when we work on a project to visualize data, For hospitals in France, for example, we transformed very complicated data, very technocratic data, into a platform for citizens, regardless of their level, to understand about the hospitals and compare between the different hospitals. Another point in our data approach is that has to do with the data usage and the final user. Data is meaningless unless it is used by somebody. The aim is to come up with systems that use the data to allow us to better take decisions or to become better and more skilled in decision making instead of establishing systems that take decisions on our behalf. So this is what we work on a daily basis. We're working on the issue of common transport and underground tickets that would allow people, or cards rather, to make people understand where there is congestion, where the traffic is flowing. So we have integrated the city into this network. What happens within the city? Where are the events located? Where are people agglomerated? This allows us to take the decisions based on all these elements. This is important on an individual level and on a corporate level. Many big enterprises create tools to give value to this data. And however, it does not reflect on their productivity. In the late 80s, Robert Solow spoke about IT all over the departments of a corporation except for productivity. Computers were given to different corporations. However, everybody continued to print out the emails. So this shows that big corporates can invest in the data business and they can invest in complicated data chains. However, they have to understand how their staff use the data and how this will change the way they work. Finally, the third point that needs a change in the approach is the issue of ethics and the ethics themselves. We have to ask ourselves here, what about regulating and governing this data? It is this subject that entrepreneurs cannot resolve on their own. This is why we need all of you present here today. Thank you.